I understand that our hats already sold out.
The hats did sell out. Liberty Without Compromise snapback trucker hats, embroidered. They're premium. They sold out within a couple of days because we had a short run made. But we found a solution. So everybody can have one. Great quality. I've tested it myself.
Okay, here's the deal. Tonight, there will be no whiskey drinking until the special segment, which is called Morons or
What?
Genius.
You're stealing my thunder.
Well, that's for a few. You'll have to endure.
We are going to endure. For anybody jumping on early, share this feed right now. Do it right now before you even see us there on camera. Share this feed to your page or profile. And for lest anybody think we didn't have juicy topics tonight on top of the surveillance state, AI, privacy, and government transparency. Oh, we got some juicy ones for you. We got it coming. Share this feed to your page or profile. As I always ask, are you ready to be on camera?
I was born ready.
Oh, I knew that. Just a second. There we go. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Liberty Without Compromise live stream broadcast. We are your hosts, Dan and Dawna Wilson. Whether you're joining us live on Facebook, YouTube, X, or listening back later, we sure are glad that you're here. As always, this is not scripted television. It's not corporate media. It's a live conversation where we pursue truth, accountability, and transparency, especially on the issues that matter right here in North Idaho. Tonight, our featured guest is Dr. John Padfield, an engineer, former state legislator, business professor, and researcher who's been studying one of the fastest growing issues facing America, which is AI-powered surveillance, flock cameras, data collection, privacy, and government transparency. We'll take a deep dive into what these systems are really capable of, what they're collecting, and why every citizen should understand how this technology is expanding into our communities. And no, it's not enough to say, hey, if you're not doing anything wrong, you don't have anything to worry about.
True.
Now, even after that, all that, we are going to have a little bit of fun tonight. Over the weekend, we posted what we thought was an obvious parody on social media. It involved a power outage that also hit one of the local Starbucks. You know, something like a completely unverified claim that somehow tying Sheriff Bob Norris to the incident, and even encouraged people to send their tips to Mike Petum at North Idaho News. We were having a little fun, but apparently not everybody got the joke. It can't always be so serious. So we're going to play a quick round tonight, later on the program. Quick round of Moron or Genius.
I'll drink to that.
And we will drink to that. We'll share a few of the very real comments that rolled in and let you decide who recognized satire and who may have taken things just a little tad bit too seriously. As we head into the 4th of July holiday, we're going to wrap up tonight's program by taking a few moments to celebrate the vision, courage, and enduring principles of America's founders. While much of what we do is expose corruption and demand accountability from our leaders, it's also important to remember that The ideas that made this country worth defending are worth talking about constantly. If you're watching live, we want to hear from you. And when we bring our guest on, Dr. John Padfield, we want to hear from you. We want to know if you've got questions for him. We'll bring those to him during that part of the program. You do that by getting involved right there in the comment section throughout the show and throughout that special interview. And if you enjoy what we do, please like, share, and subscribe. It really helps us grow this community. With that, here's your anchor, your primary host, Dan Wilson.
Happy Independence Day 250. That is quite an accomplishment. And today, like our founding fathers were facing all those years ago, tyranny truly is right at our doorstep. All you have to do is read the Declaration of Independence and read the offenses that were put down on paper and compare those to what we are facing today when we are being told it's for your, it is for our, it is for the nation's security. And we're reminded by Franklin when he talked about that you cannot trade your liberty for a little bit of security. You deserve neither if you do that. Now that's paraphrased. We'll give that direct quote shortly. But this is episode 79 of the Liberty Without Compromise broadcast. And yes, we celebrate our liberty without compromise. We've been talking to you for a couple of years now about primarily local issues. And yes, there's many people that are covering national events, national things that affect all of us. But you and I right here, we're having conversations about what to do in our very own county because it is up to us. We can't affect things at a national level. We can't affect them necessarily at a state level, but you better believe we can do something at a local level. And we are seeing citizens, Americans by blood, fighting for their very liberty in every small town and county throughout the great United States of America. Tonight's guest is going to bring to us some shocking information about what we're all facing in the surveillance state. And I believe that he's going to give us some ideas on how to thwart this tyranny and to give us hope. And we will be addressing the statements from our founders that we can draw upon this very day and time when we are getting discouraged and we think that it can't get any worse than this when it comes to securing our liberty. Our founders had some pretty wise things to say, and they weren't cowards. You aren't a coward by birth, and we can turn the tide if we're willing to do the very hard things. Now, with that being said, we are going to get going on this interview pretty darn quick.
With that being said.
With that being said. Did I sound like Walter Cronkite? The spook?
We know he was Popeye. Mm-hmm. Know who he is. So earlier this week, you're minding your own business. You're doing your day job. And you start to get some intel from multiple sources about stuff going on in the jail at KCSO. So, I want to hear what.
Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah, it is
what
true,
was that
folks.
All about?
We're looking into this more. We'll see if we can't get a statement from the sheriff's office. Doubtful, but here is the skinny. It has been reported by multiple sources inside CUNY County Sheriff's Jail that a CUNY County jail deputy and a female nurse were caught on camera inside the jail going into a room. We don't know what kind of room or what the room was. A short time later, they walked out, but staff reported to management and to supervisors that they understood by their training and experience what they understood to be personal relationship, physical touching going on, if you will. And it was reported, and the deputy was suspended shortly after questioning by both the questioning of the deputy and of the nurse. The deputy was suspended from what we are told for a short time. Questioning of the deputy and of what are we getting there? We're getting feedback?
No, there's no feedback.
Okay.
I was checking something. I made a mess of things.
Yes, you did.
Yeah, you're okay.
All right. Anyway, the next day after the incident, the nurse has been reported to have quit, and Cooney County attorney Darren Murphy gave the green light to let the deputy back to work because there is no HR issue since the jail nurse quit. Now, here is the problem. That should be a fireable offense, period. If this truly happened, and we are being told that many witnesses can attest to this, we want to know why Bob Norris did not immediately fire this deputy that at a minimum violated the ethics policy and personal conduct of the Cooney County Sheriff's Office. But as I've told you for 3 years now, it's not what you preach, it's what you tolerate. And we have come to expect this kind of behavior from the sheriff and from those that are under his command. And it is a sad state of affairs at Cooney Sheriff's Office. This is one of many incidents that we will be giving you more information in the days to come. Stand by for that. Now that we got that business out of the way, we want to bring on our special guest, Dr. John Padfield, and we're going to watch this clip of him giving a shocking discovery of what Florida legislators were attempting to do in the state of Florida. Let's take a look at this clip.
Probably the worst piece of legislation I've ever seen written. State Representative Danny Alvarez of Florida's 69th House District wrote a bill. It creates a counterterrorism unit. So this state agency is responsible for neutralizing and exploiting adversary intelligence entities. What is an adversary intelligence entity? Adverse intelligence entity, who this group is authorized to neutralize, includes people whose demonstrated actions, views, or opinions are a threat to the interests of this state, the state of Florida, or the United States. This bill does not list what the interests of the state are. This is horrible legislation. Now, when I first started talking about this, I had people asking, how would they even know what my views or opinions are? In the bill, it says, the CTU shall identify threats by analyzing patterns of life, where you drive, who you talk to, what you post online. Now, I've had people say, that's ridiculous. They would never do that. You're exaggerating. I've been a legislator. You know how much difference the intent of this bill makes when it goes to court? Zero. It does not make one single bit of difference. You could get every legislator who voted for this to go in and testify in court under oath. That's not what we intended to do. And the judge will say, how's that relevant to this case? This is what the law says. If it's not what you meant, you should have written something else. But this is what you wrote, this is what you voted for, this is what the governor signed, that's what people are going to be sentenced under.
Our guest tonight brings a unique perspective to one of the fastest growing issues facing communities across America. Dr. John Padfield began his career as an electrical engineer before serving as a state legislator, later earning a PhD in technology leadership and innovation from Purdue University. His background spans engineering, public policy, higher education, and business, giving him a rare ability to connect to the technical side of surveillance technology with its real-world implications for government and citizens. In recent months, Dr. Padfield has gained national attention for his research into flock camera systems, AI-powered surveillance, government transparency, and the questions communities should be asking before these technologies become a part of everyday life. Tonight, we're going to explore what these systems are really doing, what information they're collecting, where the technology is headed, and why understanding it matters to everyday Americans. Please join us in welcoming John Padfield.
Hello, John.
Dan and Dawna, thank you so much for having me on your show and giving me an opportunity to speak with you and with your audience.
Well, likewise, we are thrilled to have you on board tonight. I know that our good friend Jen Noel was able to connect us together, and you have an event that's going to be coming up right here in Spokane. It's part of a tour that you're that you are presenting. We're going to talk about that here coming up shortly, but tell us that this legislation in Florida that they were attempting to pass. What happened with that bill? How badly was it defeated?
Okay, the bill technically wasn't defeated. It did not pass, but it's not because they voted it down. It did not pass because it ran out of time. That bill was introduced, it's House Bill 945 in Florida from the 2026 legislative session. I encourage anyone, just look it up online. I don't tell people to Google things. I tell them to DuckDuckGo things. But whatever search engine you use, just put in Florida House Bill 945, 2026, and you can pull up a copy of that bill as it was introduced by Representative Dawna Alvarez. Just an FYI, having served as a legislator myself, when I saw this piece of legislation, the first thing I did is I looked up who introduced it, Representative Alvarez. My next question was, who were his biggest donors? Who put this man in office, or who is largely responsible for putting this man in office? His number one campaign donor is an organization called the GEO Group. The GEO Group, some of your audience may be familiar with them, some of them may not. The GEO Group is a private prison, and they have been around since the 1980s. They make their money warehousing people, and they donate to candidates that want to lock people up for a long time. They donate to candidates that want to criminalize things that have not previously been criminalized, because the more people that get locked up for the longer amount of time, the more money the GEO Group makes. So that is who is funding Representative Alvarez. Now, of course, he has other donors, but GEO Group was his biggest donor. And when you look at the legislation, it's atrocious.
Indeed, it is. And it's chilling to me to think that a state that, by all accounts, they claim to be if not in the top 3 most conservative states, would actually attempt a stunt like this.
I made a video about this back around end of February, early March. I made a video that I called "The Enemy of the State," because the bill uses the term adversary intelligence entity. I've never seen that before. I know what a terrorist is. That term's been around for a long, long time. The dictionary definition of a terrorist is a person who uses violence or the threat of violence to accomplish a political end. But the term adversary intelligence entity, the first time I read that, I thought, are we talking about Chaos from the old Get Smart TV series, or are we talking about Natasha and Boris from the Rocky and Bullwinkle cartoon? What is an adversary intelligence entity? And the way they define it, this is spelled out in the bill. An adversary intelligence entity is a government, non-governmental organization, corporation, business, group, cell, or individual whose demonstrated actions, views, or opinions are determined to be a threat to the interest of the state. And when I read an individual whose views or opinions are a threat to the interest of the state, that's horrifying. That violates so many constitutional provisions already, because you're targeting someone for their views and opinions. So a couple of questions immediately come to mind. What are the interests of the state? If I can be targeted for having views and opinions contrary to the interest of the state, someone please tell me what are the interests of the state. And I use this as a very serious example. Until about 2 years ago, reducing our CO2 emissions was the interest of the state, because I remember our president at the time, 3 years ago, repeatedly saying that global warming is an existential threat to mankind. I remember hearing a congresswoman, this would have been about 8 years ago, hearing a congresswoman saying the world is going to end in 2030 if we don't rein in our carbon emissions. So it seems to me the interest of the state used to be reducing our CO2 emissions. And then all of a sudden, when Microsoft decided they needed a new data center, Bill Gates pronounced that global warming is done. We've been telling you for 20 years we're all going to die because the earth is going to spiral out of control and it's going to be too hot. We're all going to die. And now Bill Gates is saying, temperature's going to go up a little bit, but it's not that big of a deal. We'll adjust to it. Everything I've been telling you for the last 20 years, just ignore that. Everything's going to be fine. And by the way, we need gigawatts more electricity for the data center that Microsoft wants to build, and Amazon and Google and Meta and everyone else. So I'm confused. Is it the interest of the state to reduce our CO2 emissions like we were told for 20 years? Or is it the interest of the state to forget about the CO2 emissions and just build as many power plants as we can because somebody wants data centers?
I guess the interest of the state is a sliding scale as far as what priorities and what they can change on a dime. Now, that quote out of that legislation mirrors similar quotes that the CEO of Flock Camera has recently been on camera stating when he compares those that are for DFlock, which is the group that is opposed to flock cameras, and they've been mapping these flock cameras throughout the United States. In fact, I believe I observed a video where you have even contributed to identifying where flock cameras that you have observed and others and adding those to the list. But that CEO recently was saying that DFlock is closer to Antifa, and I believe that he possibly used, as I recall, a terrorist comment as well. So if we are against what they are doing, we are actually the enemy. Do you recall that?
You are 100% correct. And I have used the video clip of the Flock CEO in one of my videos. He was being interviewed by Forbes. I cannot remember the reporter's name from Forbes, but it was a video interview. And the Forbes reporter asked him about DFlock. Now, I am not a member of DFlock. In fact, I don't even think there's such thing as a membership in DFlock. DFlock is a website and an app. And what they do is they document where these cameras are located. And I looked just before the broadcast here tonight started, and DFlock has logged where 110,000 ALPRs, automated license plate readers, are located across the country. Not every one of them is a flock camera because Motorola also makes them. Yes. Leonardo makes them. Axon makes them. So there are competitors, but the vast majority of them are flock cameras. So getting back to DFlock, DFlock was started by a man who was moving, I believe, to Atlanta from somewhere out on the West Coast, but he was seeing these cameras all over the place. He was a software engineer, so he decided to make an open source map and just invite the world to document where they're seeing these cameras. And Garrett Langley is the CEO of Flock Safety. I have always called them Flock Surveillance because, again, I'm a professor. It's just in my nature. I have sources for everything that I say. I don't just sit here and make stuff up. I call them Flock Surveillance because if you go out and look up the U.S. patent that was issued to Flock Safety, the name of the patent is Dynamic Surveillance Network. It's not a dynamic safety network. It is a dynamic surveillance network. And so I have no qualms about calling them Flock Surveillance instead of Flock Safety. That's what their patent is for. So just the hypocrisy, the gaslighting. Garrett Langley takes taxpayer dollars, whether it's coming through the mayor, the police chief, the sheriff. Garrett Langley, the CEO of Flock, takes tax dollars and then installs cameras on public right-of-ways. And that's perfectly fine. No problem. If you're suspicious of this, you must be a bad guy. And DFlock is making a map of where cameras that we paid for are located on public property. And Garrett Langley's quote is, DFlock is a terroristic organization. That is a direct quote. So making notes, documenting on a map where
a camera that we paid for is located on public property, that's an act of terrorism. Wow.
5 years ago, I apologize.
Go right
I
ahead.
didn't mean to. 5 years ago, when I was still active law enforcement, just 25 miles to the west of here in Washington State, we're in Idaho, we began getting these flock cameras. Mm-hmm. And I remember at the time, I was still somewhat new to ALPR. I had used them when I was with Spokane Police in around 2011, 2012. They were cumbersome. They didn't work very well when we were in a car, one of two cars that had those cameras and that system. It was not fun to work that car because it was a lot of hassle. Fast forward to 5 years ago when this was coming online, the technology that was even there 4 or 5 years ago is not what it is today. 2 years ago, as I was running for sheriff, I investigated and discovered that our own sheriff right here in Kootenai County, who originally was from LA, spent 30 years down there at Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department. He had, without the public's knowledge or consent, without any policies or any cybersecurity measures, he was using the Motorola Vigilant software on demo mode for approximately 50 patrol vehicles. And we found this out, and I was completely gobsmacked. The audacity of doing that. They were, again, demoed from Motorola. Hey, it will only cost $100,000 for 5 years for us to run, these 50 patrol vehicles. And it's a small investment. We were told by the sheriff, it is for public safety. It is for deputy safety. We hear this many times over, but since then, since Trump has come back into office, it seems that this flock and ALPR situation has exploded. Why is that?
Great observation, and you are 100% correct. But let me back the timeline up just a little bit. 2017 is when Flock Safety incorporated in the state of Georgia. They're headquartered in Atlanta. I have been to their headquarters on a Saturday and took some pictures of it. But they incorporated in 2017. And when they incorporated, they were basically just a startup company. And to hear the origin story, which has shifted over time, Garrett Langley talks about developing these cameras in his garage because, according to Garrett Langley, his garage was broken into and he had security camera footage of the break-in, and the police told him that doesn't work. We need to have license plates. Okay, I'm skeptical of this. Please tell me which officer said that.
Yeah.
But he went out and said that he invented these cameras to reduce crime. And he states, just matter-of-factly, we know cameras eliminate crime. No, we don't know that. I'll come back to that in a moment. But anyway, Flock starts as a startup in 2017. One of their first investors, surprise, surprise, Peter Thiel, the co-founder of Palantir, poured millions of dollars into Flock Safety to help get them up and running. It is really difficult to say exactly how much that he put in. We know his first investment was $2 million, but if you have ever tried to track venture capital money, you really need a forensic accountant, because this venture capital company puts money in this venture capital company that sends it to this one, that sends it to this one, that sends it to this one, that funds a project. And you literally need a forensic accountant to figure out who did that, because this money is like a shell game. So anyway, Peter Thiel, we know, has put at least $2 million in. It's probably much, much more than that, but it's just hard to trace. So fast forward to the time that President Trump gets reelected. You already have tens of thousands of flock cameras up. But what happens about that time? Money starts pouring in. Public safety is the buzzword. And I want to point something out. There is always a boogeyman. You can go back into the 1980s, and the boogeyman was the Colombian cartels that were shooting up Miami. We had TV shows like Miami Vice, but the drug kingpins, they were the bad guys. And then we went through a period where we got to protect the children. And then we went through a period where it was Middle Eastern terrorist. And there's always a bad guy. And here's what I have observed. I don't know what the problem is, but the solution is more surveillance. And you know, how do we combat the illegal drug problem? Well, you have to give up your financial privacy. We have to be able to track every dollar that goes through a bank, and that's the only way we can fight drug money. And how do we fight predators online? Well, everyone has to give up your anonymity when you're online because we got to protect the children. And how do we fight, property crime? Well, you got to give up your anonymity. The solution to every problem is more surveillance. So anyway, what happened that Flock just exploded all of a sudden? Part of it is when these cameras first started going up, there was very little public scrutiny because nobody was prepared for it. Nobody knew it was coming. It's kind of like the same reason that when Japan attacked Pearl Harbor, we weren't ready for them because we didn't know they were coming. So we get blindsided with these cameras going up and nobody knowing about it. As people started pushing back, myself, and it certainly not just me, there's other YouTubers that have been trying to wake people up to this. But there's a number of us, Ben Jordan,
yes,
just a whole bunch of people. But as we have been waking people up, we've started seeing large turnouts in city and county council meetings saying, we don't want these. And if you go out to dflock.org, not only will you see a map of where 110,000 automated license plate readers are, you'll also see a list of 74 communities that have either voted to keep Flock cameras out of the community, or the majority of them, communities that had Flock cameras up that voted to take them down, cancel their contracts. So what we're seeing is this shift. Flock got a ton of these cameras up early on because there was no opposition. We didn't know they were coming. As people started waking up, started pushing back, Flock has pivoted. There's a man that I have interviewed in Dunwoody, Georgia, named Jason Hunyar, and I'm going to be interviewing him again here very soon. But he has filed numerous open records requests, and one of the open records requests that he found for the city of Dunwoody, Georgia, that there's a real-time crime center, and there was a meeting scheduled. This was produced in an open records request. People from Flock, people from the real-time crime center, people from 6 a.m. strategies, people from Targeted Victories. There was one other company, I can't remember the name, but they were all on the invitation list. And Jason thought, I've never heard of these two. Who is Targeted Victories? Who is 6 a.m. strategy? So Jason went out and looked. These are Washington, D.C. based crisis management PR firms. If your CEO gets in trouble for inappropriate conduct with the secretary. I heard you talking about the deputy and the jail nurse. But if your CEO gets in trouble doing something with the secretary, this is the company that you hire that's going to try and boost your image and tell you to go out and donate some money to charity and take some photos with some kids and blah, blah, blah. Flock didn't hire one. They didn't hire two. They hired 3 crisis management PR firms to start boosting their image. And when you go out and look at the website of these 3 companies that Flock has hired, they brag about, we can generate local support for you. And so when the natural citizenry of a community shows up at a city council meeting and says, we don't want this, Flock has hired people to go out, kind of like the busloads of people that followed a certain presidential candidate around.
Yes.
Flock is going to ensure that there's going to be 50 people to show up to say, we love Flock, because they're being paid to. So anyway, that's going on. The other thing that Flock is doing is they have pivoted. Because there is so much opposition today, any city or county council that's having a meeting wanting to expand Flock, bring in more cameras, they know there's going to be a lot of people showing up saying, we don't want this. And so Flock today is changing their sales pitch. Hey, don't worry about having to go to the city council to get money for this. Department of Homeland Security, they got some grants. We'll hook you up. And they're doing this, really bypassing the public input process. And you said something, I'm sorry, I don't mean to monopolize here, but
No,
I'm on a
keep
roll.
going.
The Declaration of Independence, I recently made a video on the Declaration of Independence. The preamble to the Declaration of Independence. We hold these truths to be self-evident. Self-evident is a mathematical term, meaning this is so obvious we don't have to explain it any further. What are the self-evident truths in the Declaration of Independence preamble? There are 6 of them. I won't go through all of them, but the first one is we hold these truths to be self-evident. All men are created equal. We're endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights. Our rights don't come from government. Our rights come from God. That among these rights are life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men. The purpose of government is to secure our rights. This is coming from our birth certificate. And then the next line to me is probably the most relevant to this whole discussion. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just power from the consent of the governed.
Yes.
And I remember a couple of years ago, Bill Cosby got in some trouble. And what did he get in trouble for? Well, he was doing some things without consent. Were the women objecting? No, they were knocked out. He was drugging them. That's what he was convicted of. You can't say, well, nobody showed up and opposed it, so therefore we have their consent. That's not the way it works. You cannot have consent when the people don't know what you're doing. You know, if you're doing it in secret and no one's objecting, that doesn't mean they agree with it. It just means that you did a good job of keeping it secret. So flock cameras fall into this area. They started going up without our consent. And we live in a constitutional republic. We elect people to make decisions on our behalf. But here's my big problem with all of this. Show me one mayor, one sheriff, one city or county council member who ran for office on a platform of, I promise if you elect me, I will spend tens of thousands of your tax dollars to put up dozens of cameras to track you everywhere you drive.
Yes,
I've never heard of a single candidate running for office on that promise.
And that really is the problem with government, as you said from the wise sayings in the Declaration. And, you know, a government, which we have the government to secure our rights, the Constitution without the Bill of Rights really doesn't have the horsepower that it has. It's a parchment barrier, because a government that is all powerful enough to protect our rights is also equally powerful enough to take our rights away. And we're seeing them subvert the consent of the people, as you're saying, because of the freebies and the people are asleep. They are suckered by phrases from law enforcement. It's for officer safety. It's for public safety. If you have nothing to hide, you don't have to worry about it. But how much of this also is being funded, as you said, through grants, through DHS? How much of this is coming from I think it was $800 billion that Trump promised for, was it Operation Stargate, with Larry Ellison from Oracle and Teal and Alex Karp with Palantir and Gotham and Foundry. And I mean, where is this money coming from? Is it CIA? Is it Alphabet? Where is it coming from?
Great question. And I cannot give a detailed answer. I can give a broad answer. We know that the CIA was largely responsible for funding Palantir. And they have a fund, Intel Q or something like the exact name escapes me off the top of my head, but the CIA has a fund for investing into startups, and they put millions of dollars into Palantir when it was a startup. So we know that some of the money for this is coming from CIA. Don't know exactly what percentage. Larry Ellison, let's go back to him for just a moment. Larry Ellison briefly was the richest man in the world about September of 2025. Been nearly a year ago, and it only lasted for a matter of hours, but he is the co-founder of Oracle. He's the chairman of the board of Oracle. And when Oracle's stock spiked, for a while, he was the richest man in the world. And what has he done with his wealth? Well, the first thing he did is he went out and he bought Paramount. There are 5 conglomerates in the United States that control the vast majority of the media that we have. And Paramount is one of those 5. That's owned by Larry Ellison. Another of those is Warner Discovery. You want to guess who owns Warner Discovery now? David Ellison, Larry's son. So we have one family that owns 40% of the conglomerates that control the vast majority of media in the United States. I think that is way too much power for one family to control.
Indeed.
I don't think it ever should have been approved by the SEC, but one of the deal sweeteners to make sure that there was no regulatory intervention, Warner Discovery owns CNN, and CNN has been a thorn in the side of our president. He has called them fake news. He's done all types of things. He really dislikes CNN. And David Ellison made comments to the effect of, when I'm controlling this, we'll get that reined in. And if you're the president and you can influence the SEC, and someone's saying that they're going to tone down your biggest critic, that appears to be what happened. So anyway, you've got Larry Ellison owning Paramount, his son owning Warner Discovery. And then Larry Ellison also has control of TikTok. So when you start looking at his influence, not only is he among the richest men in the world, in terms of control of the media, he is probably the single biggest owner of media in the United States. So what is he doing with this? What's his ultimate goal? He said in an investor call, there's video of it. He said this in an investor call: we will have supervision, we meaning the world. We will have supervision, and people will be on their best behavior because they will know that they are constantly being recorded, and AI is going to be analyzing everything that people do. He specifically mentioned body-worn cameras, license plate readers, doorbell cameras. He mentioned 1 or 2 others, but he said these video streams are going to be analyzed by AI, and this is going to ensure that everyone's on your best behavior. Now, he did not use the term AI overlords. That's my term. But he said AI is going to be watching us all the time, and that's going to keep people on their best behavior. I don't recall ever voting for Larry Ellison. In fact, I'm pretty sure that I would not vote for him no matter what. But Larry Ellison appears to be making national policy for us now. I did some back of the envelope calculations. Earlier in my career, I was an electrical engineer. Because I'm a professor now, I study a lot of trade publications. I went out and I started looking at dash cams. How many dash cams are in use today? How many are expected to be in use by 2030? Doorbell cams, body-worn cams, things like Meta Ray-Ban glasses that have cameras built into them. What I was trying to do was come up with an estimate of how many cameras, and I'm not worried about somebody's cell phone that just takes a picture. I'm talking about cameras that are web-enabled that are going to be streaming live to the cloud. How many of those are going to be in the United States by 2030? That's less than 4 years away. That's exactly 3.5 years away. How many cameras are going to be in the United States streaming to the cloud? And the conservative estimate is about 800 million. Now, at any given moment, not all 800 million are going to be streaming. Body-worn cameras that police officers wear, those are used for 40 hours a week. Your dash cam, that's used when you're driving. It's not really showing a whole lot if it's parked in your garage. Let's just assume for a moment 10% of those 800 million cameras are streaming at any given moment. That's about 20 gigawatts of AI computing power needed to analyze 80 million video streams. And so when you look around the country, just start counting up. We need about 20 gigawatts of AI to analyze 80 million simultaneous streaming cameras that are being streamed to the cloud. And all of a sudden, all of these data centers popping up everywhere start to make sense when you realize we need about 20 gigawatts just to do the AI processing. And that doesn't even include things like, now that we have a real ID, and pretty soon we're going to have the digital ID, and very, very soon you're going to have to show government IDs to get onto anything on the internet. Well, who's going to be processing every website that you go to, and then matching up? You went to this website and you drove here and you posted this comment on X, and we know that you were over here talking to this person last week. We need tens of gigawatts of AI power to do that level of surveillance on everyone in the country. And don't think for a minute we're only going to be watching people in our country. They're going to be watching people in other countries as well.
Power hungry people. And I'm concerned as I am learning more about Signal Trace and Beehive with cross-pollination out of Utah. It seems like we're not going to be able to escape any of this.
I'm glad you brought up Signal Trace. I go back to the old analogy of when you see an iceberg, only about 10% is above the surface, 90% is below the surface. Flock cameras are the 10% that are above the surface. That's what you can see. What's under the surface? Leonardo cameras. Leonardo is a competitor of Flock. They make cameras that are physically smaller because their cameras have external battery packs. They don't have the big solar panel like Flock. You hardly ever see a Leonardo camera because they are designed to be hidden. Physically, they're smaller. And where do you typically find them? You're driving down the road, you see these orange and white, orange and white barrels. And as you drive past, if you look in your rearview mirror, you might see a rectangular cutout in one of these barrels, and there's a camera inside of it getting your license plate as you drive past. You don't see it approaching. It's only after you've passed it. Sometimes it's going to be an unmarked state police car. They're going to have a roof rack on an unmarked car. There's going to be a camera in the roof rack, or there's going to be a unmarked state police truck. And in the toolbox on the back of the truck, there's a little cutout with a camera. So that's Leonardo. It does pretty much the same thing that Flock does, but Leonardo has gone a step further. They have created something called Signal Trace. Now, Signal Trace, you have probably seen this and had no idea what you were looking at. Signal Trace is a white square panel. I've never been able to measure one. I don't know if it's 10 by 10 or 12 by 12, but it's just a white panel. Mounts to a pole 10, 12 feet off the ground. And what it is, it's an antenna. It is specially tuned to Bluetooth and Wi-Fi, and it's picking up all types of signals. So here's the scenario. I drive past a Leonardo license plate reader and a Leonardo Signal Trace. They will pair these together. I've got a pair of AirPods on me as I drive past. The license plate reader says, okay, we just captured this license plate that belongs to John Padfield. Signal Trace says, here is the, for lack of a better term, the serial number for John's AirPods, because your AirPods have a different serial number to them. It knows these are my AirPods. It knows this is my watch. It knows this is my phone. If I have hearing aids, if I have a glucose monitor, if I have an insulin pump, a pacemaker, every electronic device, it captures the equivalent of a serial number, and it says these electronic devices belong to this license plate because in the last month, we've seen these devices move as a group inside of this car. So the database says we've got an inventory. All of these things must belong to John because they're always seen in John's car. Now, one day my car breaks down. I call you up and say, hey, Dan, can you give me a ride to work? And you say, sure. So I'm sitting in your truck and you give me a ride to work and we go past a Signal Trace. And Signal Trace is going to pick up all of your devices. It's going to pick up your license plate. And then it's going to say, hold on. I see all of John's stuff in there. John's AirPods are in Dan's truck. John's watch is in Dan's truck. Make a note of that. If we ever need to find John and we can't find him, go see Dan because these two know each other. And that's what's going on. If I wanted to go to a protest and I cover my face and I leave my cell phone at home and I get a ride with a friend to take me to a protest. If I have my AirPods on me, if I have hearing aids, if I have a glucose monitor, they're going to pick me up because, hey, we scanned the crowd. We picked up these hearing aids. We picked up these glucose monitors. We picked up these AirPods. We know who's there because of their electronic devices. So this is not science fiction. This is not something that's coming. This is already here.
Here's what blows me away. I believe it was in Federalist 85 where Hamilton said, "We can rest assuredly in the disposition of the state legislators to erect a barrier against a national government." And we really, I mean, Idaho did a half-assed job of restricting ALPRs for government, but they've done nothing for the private sector. Lowe's, Home Depot, other businesses now are employing these. What is going on where the states are not asserting their rights to push back and say, not only no, but hell no, we're not going to allow this violation of our citizens' rights?
That's what needs to happen. Because if you go back and look at some of my videos on YouTube from a year ago, I used to talk about there are two threats to our privacy. There's government surveillance and there's surveillance capitalism. And what I have seen over the last year, especially the last 6 months, that's become one threat. And it's a two-way street. When private sector companies are gathering up all of our data, they're selling it to government. Chase, Bank of America, the credit card companies are selling our transaction histories. Bank of America is probably the worst. If you go back and look at J6,
yeah,
Bank of America, they didn't even wait for the FBI to ask them. They generated a list not only of people that were in the Washington, D.C. area the day before, of, or after J6. If you happen to be traveling in the vicinity of Washington, D.C. on the 5th, 6th, or 7th, and you purchased anything, you got money out of an ATM, your name was on a list that they handed over to the FBI, and they generated a list of everyone who had used a Bank of America card to purchase ammo or firearms. They just handed it over. They didn't even wait to be asked. Here you go.
I was so pissed off when that happened. I immediately canceled my Alaska Airlines card, which was through Bank of America. I could not believe what I was hearing.
Yeah. But it goes both directions. This one irritates the daylights out of me. I live in Indiana. And I have extended an invitation to one of my former colleagues. I was in the Indiana legislature back in the 90s, and a few of my former colleagues are still there. Representative Greg Porter from Indianapolis. 3 years in a row, he has introduced a bill that I would love to see passed in Indiana. And what the bill does, in Indiana, the Bureau of Motor Vehicles makes $17 million a year selling all of our data to data brokers. They're selling, oh, John Padfield lives here. This is his phone number. This is his driver's license number. This is his license plate number. Here's what he drives. And they're selling this to data brokers. They're making $17 million a year from it. And I would like to be able to opt out of that. In fact, I would rather it be an opt-in. Anyone that wants their data sold, you can opt in, but I will settle for give me the opportunity to opt out. And that's all that Representative Porter's bill did. It created an opt-out for people that don't want their data shared. 3 years in a row it's been introduced. 3 years in a row it did not receive a committee hearing. But here's what came out this most recent year. We know the Bureau of Motor Vehicles makes $17 million selling our data that we are required to give to the government. They turn around and sell it. But there are constraints on what those companies can do with it. And we found out there are 200 data brokers that at least temporarily are barred from buying that data. Why are they barred? Well, because they violated the terms of service. The state said, we will sell you all this data, but you can't do this and this with it. And they did it. So 200 companies have been banned, at least temporarily, from buying licensed data from the state of Indiana. Here's my question. how many companies are you selling my data to? Were you selling it to 205 and all but 5 of them did this? Or are you selling my data to 1,000 companies and only 20% of them did it? How many companies are buying my data? And my second question, and somebody has already asked this, I want a list of the 200 companies that are prohibited from buying my data because you sold it to them and they misused it. And the state of Indiana said, we can't give you that list. That would be a violation of their privacy.
Jeez.
I haven't broken any laws. I haven't broken any contracts. You are taking my data without my consent. You are governing against the consent of the governed. You're selling my data to people who have misused it. And when I ask who misused my data, I can't tell you. That would violate their privacy.
You know, I love your YouTube page, Business Reform. We have a QR code up on the screen for people to find you. But I especially love, well, there isn't just one video that I love. I really appreciated the review on dash cameras because somebody that should have been paying attention, I never gave thought to who my dash cam manufacturer was. Because, you know, you assume, hey, I have to, again, consent to allowing them to use of the data. But for any of you out there that are curious about privacy for dash cams or other cameras, you need to go to John's YouTube page and see the resources that he's put out there and the work that he's done if you're looking for privacy. This leads me into asking you a big question. What do we do to avoid Big Brother? It seems like you can't even run out to the woods anymore and hide out. So what are liberty-minded Americans supposed to do in order to secure themselves better against this tyranny?
Our options are limited, but I will share with you what I share in my public presentations. Number one, everyone should have a Faraday bag. And my personal favorite, I have no financial relationship with them. My personal favorite is called Mission Darkness. They are high quality bags, but you have to turn your phone off before you put your phone in a Faraday bag. If you don't, the Faraday bag is like a shield. It prevents your cell phone from talking to the towers. If you leave your phone on, your phone is designed to stay in contact with the tower, so it's going to crank up the power to max trying to reach a cell phone tower that it can't reach. It's going to run your battery down, and inside of the bag, your phone could potentially overheat. So turn your phone off, drop it in a Faraday bag. I'll share this anecdote. This happened to me last November. I was giving a presentation on one of my Brush Fire of Freedom tour stops in Louisville, Kentucky. 10 minutes into my presentation, I've got about 40 people in the room. 10 minutes into my presentation, every single cell phone in the room goes off simultaneously, including mine. And I always leave my phone on silent. You know, I could feel it vibrate, but I always leave it on silent. Every phone in the room is making noise. And so we all pull out our phones to see what's going on. A FedEx plane has crashed at the Louisville airport. The mayor hit a emergency button to push a notification to every phone within a certain radius, telling people stay indoors. There's toxic fumes in the air because of this crash at the airport. Okay, that's fine. 2 people sitting in the front row of my event held their phones up and they said, this was turned off. And I kind of chuckled and I said, apparently not. Just because you hit the power button, just because your screen goes dark, just because when somebody calls you, they're told the call can't go through, that does not mean your phone is off. Your phone is never off. And so when I say turn your phone off, hit the power button, put it into that low power mode, put it into a Faraday bag, and that is the only way you know that your phone is not communicating with the outside world. So that's number one. Today, it's more than just your phone. You got a smartwatch, you got a Fitbit, that goes into the Faraday bag. Today, because of signal trace, you got Bluetooth headphones, that goes into the Faraday bag. Any electronic device you have needs to go into the Faraday bag. They do make larger ones that'll take tablets and even laptops. Second thing, with a Faraday bag, use it. And what I mean by that, if you're going to go meet a buddy and you want to have a private conversation and you don't want anyone tracking you, imagine this. For 1 hour a month, you turn off your phone at the same time he turns off his phones. You both put them in Faraday bags. Okay, I don't know where that phone is for an hour, but you and somebody that I know, turn your phones off at the same time. You both disappear for an hour and you were only a mile apart from each other when you both disappeared. AI is going to take about a millisecond to figure out you two probably met somewhere. So that the deal with a Faraday bag, use it. Don't just use it when you think you need to. Use it frequently. You don't have anything going on for the next hour, turn your phone off and throw it in the bag, even though you're not leaving your house. You need to create enough background noise of this phone is off for 16 hours a week at random. Now, when you're going someplace sensitive and you don't want to be tracked, it blends in because, you do that twice a day anyway. So I really, really encourage people, don't just use it when you think you need it. Get in the habit of using it.
Patterns of behavior.
That's the first thing.
Patterns of behavior. We have a question that came up by Suzanne P-9B. Where can you get these Faraday bags? You've already told us the manufacturer, but I assume that their website is what you said, Complete Darkness?
It's called Mission Darkness.
Mission Darkness.
I actually found, I put that up on the QR code in the corner once I heard you say that. Yeah.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Yep.
They are available on Amazon, but I encourage people just go to the website and buy it directly from the website. No need to tell Amazon that you're buying it.
Let's bring up this next question here from Char Cox. What about our televisions? Are they equipped with cameras that listen even when they're turned off?
Great question. This is going to vary by manufacturer and by model. I will tell you that the cameras are much more rare. They do exist in some models, but what's much more common is the microphone. Microphones are almost ubiquitous. The microphones typically are going to be in the remote control, and it's sold as a feature. You can pick up your remote control, speak to your remote control. I want to see, blah, 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 and the smart TV is going to go out and find it. Here's what you really, really need to do with modern television sets. Nearly every television set made today is a smart TV, meaning you can run an Ethernet cable to it or you can connect it to Wi-Fi. Down in Texas, Attorney General Ken Paxton filed a lawsuit against the 5 largest TV manufacturers in the country, Sony, Samsung, LG, Vizio, and I'm drawing a blank on the 5th one, but he filed a lawsuit against them over something called ACR. ACR stands for Automatic Content Recognition. And the way that it works, you go out to Walmart, you buy, a $400 TV, it's 65 inch, you bring it home, and the first thing that happens when you turn it on, it pops up and it wants you to enter you select your Wi-Fi, and then enter the password. And it tells you all the great things that you're going to get by connecting your TV to Wi-Fi. You're going to be able to stream movies directly to your TV without having a Roku or anything else. And we're going to be able to push updates to you. Don't do it. Number one, if your TV works when you plug it in, be thankful. You don't need updates to your TV. Because a lot of companies are doing some really crappy things when they push updates, either disabling features or streaming you ads or something else. But here's the biggest problem. When you give it your Wi-Fi password and your TV goes on Wi-Fi, these TVs, every half a second, we're talking twice a second, it takes a screenshot of what's on your screen. And then it sends that information back to the mothership. What happens back at Sony, what happens back at Samsung or LG, they get this screenshot twice a second, and they look at it and say, what is this from? Oh, I recognize this. AI is doing this at the speed of light practically. You're watching House of Cards on Netflix, season 3, episode 2, and you're 12 minutes and 8 seconds into the TV show. We know what you're watching, not just the show. We know the show, the season, the episode, and how far in you are. Or you're playing a PlayStation or an Xbox. We know what game you're playing. We know how far along you are in the game. You're on level 27 of this game on Xbox. Here's the scary one. You took some home movies and you're playing the home movies on your TV set. It's going to be taking screenshots of your home movies, sending it back to the mothership. Now it's going to say, we don't recognize this because this is not a TV show, but they still have a copy of your home movie because they're taking all of these screenshots. What difference does that make? Well, number one, it's none of their business what I'm watching.
Indeed.
Number two, that data is being put into a dossier that says, hey, Dan likes nature documentaries about alligators. And you think, well, no big deal. I don't care. Well, there may be other things that you do care about. But it goes into the dossier, and this is what's called pattern of life data. Pattern of life data is, where do you drive? Well, we know that from Flock, and we know that from Signal Trace. Who do you spend time with? Well, we can see who you communicate with your text messages. Because even if I'm not reading your text message, I can at least look at your phone number is this, and you're texting this person. And based on the time of day and the length of the message and how quickly does that person respond to you, I can make some informed guesses about your relationship with this person based on those clues. It's during business hours. When you get a text message from this number during business hours, you respond within 30 seconds. That's probably your boss. If you text that person first, they take 2 hours to respond to you. That's probably your boss. I can make some predictions just based on these patterns. So pattern of life data, where do you go? What do you watch? Who do you communicate with? What do you read? What do you post? All of this is pattern of life data. And this is specifically kind of going full circle back to House Bill 945 in Florida. This is the type of data that is used so that the government can determine, do you have views or opinions that are a threat to the interest of the state? Well, you're reading this subversive material. How dare you read what this person posts on Twitter because that person is subversive? And you posted this, and you are watching this show on Netflix, and only troublemakers watch that show. We're putting together the pattern of life to say you are likely to be a problem either now or in the near future. We're going to have to do something about you.
I think Tom Cruise had a movie about that, similar.
He sure did. Minority Report. That movie is around 20 or 25 years old. I can't remember the exact date it came out. I want to say about 2002.
Yeah.
But 20, 25 years ago, that was science fiction. Today, it's on the verge of being science reality.
Here's another question from Olivia Nelson. I'm curious about the fact that newer vehicles have all the traceable things built in, OnStar, stereo decks and such, as well as I've heard of the new license plates having tracking also other than just the number, of course. They'll find us if they want to one way or another, right?
Okay, really glad that Olivia brought this up. I currently drive a 2017 vehicle. That is the newest vehicle I will probably ever own, because unless something serious happens to reverse the direction we're going, I will not drive a newer vehicle. There's a website I want to share with you. Again, no financial ties whatsoever to them. The website is called privacy4cars. I believe it's .org. You can double check me on this if Dawna's sitting there. Privacy, and it's the number 4, not FOR. It's the number 4 cars.org. This is a company. I've met the people that run this company. They make their money from car dealerships and from banks that are going out doing repos. By law in several states, if I'm a car dealer and I take your trade in on trade, by law, the first thing I have to do is completely wipe the memory of your car. Same thing if a bank goes out and repossesses a car, by law in many states, the first thing they have to do is wipe the memory of the car, because If they just go out and repossess a car, it probably has a code in it that will open your garage door. There's a location history showing everywhere this car has driven. There's a lot of personal information. Your contacts from your phone are probably in your car. So state laws in many states say it must be wiped out. Privacy for cars, they make their money certifying for dealerships and banks that this has been done. As a free service to individuals, you can enter your vehicle identification number on their website. I know these people. I trust these people. I've done this myself. You put in your vehicle identification number because your VIN is a smart number. From your VIN, they can see this is what came from the factory. What entertainment system is in your car. Unless you have changed it since you purchased the car, they can see what it is. They will then go pull, here are the privacy policies for everything in your car, because your car may have 7 or 8 different privacy policies for different systems in your car. They will summarize that. They will give you a score about what all is your car collecting. And the most important thing, what is your car sharing and who is it sharing it with? You can get all of this at privacyforcars.org just by putting in your vehicle identification number. My car, because it's a 2017, it is described as a hard drive on wheels. It is collecting all types of information about me, but it lacks the ability to transmit it. If I had bought a 2018 instead of a 2017, there would be a SIM card in my car, and it would be broadcasting nonstop everything that I'm doing. So step 1, drive an older car to minimize this risk. Step 2, put your vehicle identification number into Privacy for Cars to see exactly what your car is collecting on you, and if it's a newer car, what it's sharing. I want to go back to the claim that Olivia made about, or the question that she raised about license plates that are sharing information. I looked this up because a friend of mine sent me a TikTok reel of somebody in Indiana claiming that our new license plates have 5G built into them and our license plates are tracking us. That particular TikTok reel was completely in error. There was a very, very small 5G on the license plate, but I went out and personally looked at license plates that my wife, and my daughter own. The 2 plates that were purchased in May had a 5. I believe that 5 is just the month that the plate was made. So when you see 5G stamped in very, very small letters on a plate, that does not mean 5G technology. That's probably a date code. Now, there is an electronic license plate. This is not issued by the state. There is a private company that sells electronic license plates. Right now, they are only legal in California and Arizona. And for the life of me, I do not understand the purpose of these plates. It is a license
Probably
plate.
a Tesla nerd.
It's a license plate, and the selling feature is it has a day and night mode. So you can have white letters on a black background or black letters on a white background. Wow, I'll pay $800 for that. Something that I will never see as I'm driving because it's on the back of my car. I honestly have no idea why somebody would want these. It's what we used to call in engineering. This is a solution in search of a problem.
It would have been very helpful for me as my eyes aged when I was trying to run plates at nighttime. I'd love to have a red plate shining back at me that I could read easier. Okay, so you have been putting on these brush fire tours for quite a while now. You're going to be coming to our area in Spokane. I believe it's August 1st. We're going to have a QR code on that information, but tell us about the brush fire tours. What is it, why you're doing it, and any other information you want to let us know.
Sure. This started last July. As my channel started growing, my channel is just over 4 years old right now. But right about the 3rd anniversary of my channel, it started exploding when I put out a couple of very, very popular videos about facial recognition. as my channel rapidly grew last summer, I had people across the country who were emailing me and saying, I'd love to meet you sometime. And I thought, I'm going to go on tour and just go out and meet some people, because I make my videos sitting right here. This is the background that you see in my YouTube videos, but I wanted to get out on the road and meet people. And so I picked a couple of cities. I went out there, I met people, and the more I met people, I thought, I'm going to make this a 50-state tour. And if I go out and do one event, that's easy to ignore. But my goal on July 16th, just 2 weeks from now, I'm going to start a 19-city tour, starting in Memphis, Tennessee, going all the way out to Los Angeles, coming up the West Coast. I'm going to hit 19 cities in 28 days. Really looking forward to being in Spokane on August 1st. The purpose for this is twofold. Number one, I enjoy meeting people. I enjoy sharing with people. For people who watch my channel and they want to get their friends more involved, invite them to come out to the event. They can ask questions. I'm more than happy to take questions. The other thing is, I'm hoping to get some media coverage out of it. One event, you can just say, that's no big deal. But when I'm going out doing a 19-city tour, I'm contacting media outlets in advance saying, I'm coming through Phoenix, I'm coming through Los Angeles, Sacramento, and I'm hoping to get more media coverage and draw more attention to this issue. The other thing that it does, in the last couple of weeks, I have had 2 invitations to address legislative bodies. When I was out in Colorado a few weeks ago at an event, I met State Representative Steve Johnson from Wyoming, and he invited me to come out to Wyoming. He's introducing a bill to get rid of surveillance cameras, and he has asked me to come out and testify on that bill when he introduces it in January. I told him I'd be more than happy. So that's still 6 months off, but I've already committed to him. I'm more than happy to come out to Wyoming and testify to help get legislation passed in Wyoming. Last week, I had another state. I'm not going to name them just because it's not official yet, but had another state reach out to me. Their Homeland Security Legislative Committee has invited me to come talk to them. And so when I can go to legislative committees and say, I've been to 30 states, I've been to 40 states, and here's what I'm seeing, here's what I'm hearing from people, this is what's going on in Idaho, this is what's going on in Washington State, it gives me more credibility when I'm talking to legislators, because I have been out there to see it in person. So I really encourage anyone in your audience, go to brushfirestour.com. There's a list of all of the cities that I'm going to be hitting. Basically, I'm hitting nearly everything west of the Mississippi. There's a few states in the Dakotas. I'm not hitting those on this tour, but I am planning on hitting all 50 states by the end of next summer.
That is awesome. We are extremely fortunate in this country, those of us that are watchmen on the wall, to have men like you, women like my friend Jen Noel, who are watching.
Jen is awesome.
And that are coming up with solutions, and you're actually doing something about the problem rather than sitting back and typing in comments on social media. What is the best way, besides showing people the QR code, what is the best way for us to get people to come to these events? Do you think, is there a video on your YouTube that would be a great introduction so that it would be shareable? Some people, where they're going to go, well, I don't know what this is, this brush fire. I've never heard of this guy. Is there one video that you would recommend that our audience could download and start sending it out in preparation for you coming here?
I think if I was just going to pick one video, it would probably be the one that you showed at the beginning of this live stream. My YouTube shorts get a ton of views, and the YouTube short that you shared tonight, that was from one of my Brush Fire of Freedom tour stops in Auburn, Alabama. And that's a really good one, because it really hits, this is the issue. This data is being collected on us. pattern of life data, and it is not being collected for our good. It's not being collected to do anything positive for us. We have bought into this lie, and I want to go back and just quickly address one thing that you said, and I know this is not what you believe. You are repeating the argument. Well, if you don't have anything to hide, what are you worried about?
Yeah.
Or if you're not doing anything wrong, here is the number one answer to that. And I have met so many incredible people doing these brush fire tours. I met a gentleman last summer on one of my stops, and he had the best answer to that phrase, if you're not doing anything wrong, why do you care? He said, who gave you the right to determine if you're doing anything wrong?
Hear, hear.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because I remember 4 or 5 years ago when governors were telling people you can't leave your home unless you want to go to the bar or the strip club or the dispensary, because, that's essential services. But if you want to go worship somewhere, no, churches are closed because disease spreads there. In what world does disease spread faster at church than at a strip club?
Right. Interests of the state again, right? Goes back to that argument, right?
Yes,
Interests of
exactly.
the state. So give us in our closing minutes here, encouragement. People need encouragement. Dawna and I, we deal with this all the time. We even need encouragement. What can you encourage us about this extremely troubling world that we are entering into and finding ourselves in right here in the United States?
I'll quickly share 2 things. Number one, go to dflock.org. And as of tonight, there is a counter at the top of the page that says 74. That's 74 communities across the country that have voted to either not allow flock into their community or have voted to cancel their flock contracts. We are winning. Now, that the game is far from over, but 74 communities have either voted to keep flock out, or the vast majority of those 74, the cameras were already up and they voted to take them down. Flock is panicking. When I said that they went out and they hired 3 Washington, D.C. based crisis management PR firms, companies that are confident don't go out and spend that type of money. You do that when you're scared. The second thing, over my shoulder, well, you can see it right up here. This is a football helmet, and I paid a human artist to create 2 logos for me. This logo is for the Civil Liberty Sentinels. It's a NFL style logo. This one over here is for the Surveillance Titans. And this is a metaphor that I came up with. The Surveillance Titans, that is a fictional football team, but it represents Palantir and Flock and Motorola and Axon and Fog Data Science and all these other multi-billion-dollar companies that are taking all of our information. They are the Surveillance Titans. The Civil Liberty Sentinels, this is YouTubers, people like me and you who are trying to wake people up, people that are making a ruckus, peacefully pushing back on the surveillance state. We are trying to get the public worked up and getting the public to show up at these meetings and say, we don't want this. And the reason that I chose football, if you go back to the 2017 Super Bowl, you had the New England Patriots playing the Atlanta Falcons. 8 minutes into the third quarter, the New England Patriots are down 28-3. And anyone that follows football, when you're down 28-3 midway through the third quarter, people start heading for their cars. The game's over. No, it's not. That was the first Super Bowl that ever went into overtime. Because even though the New England Patriots were down 28-3 midway through the third quarter, they came back to tie the game. It went into overtime and they won in overtime. And so that's my metaphor with these helmets. Civil Liberty Sentinels, we are down right now. We are down by several touchdowns, but the game is not over. Time is short. Time's running out, but the game's not over. And I am not about to sit back and watch people like Larry Ellison, Peter Thiel, Alexander Karp, Garrett Langley. I am not about to watch them turn my country into a open air prison where my children are going to be trapped.
Hear, hear.
I am going to do everything in my power. And if that means traveling the country, I'm going to be driving 7,000 miles in 28 days to go out and do this speaking at 19 different cities. But I will dedicate my life, my fortune, my sacred honor to go out and try and rescue this country from the open air prison that these surveillance titans are trying to turn it into.
What an amazing patriot you are. What an amazing man you are. We greatly appreciate your taking action, being a leader, for your dedication, and for working to preserve the sacred honor of our founders and all that they
Thank
did.
you.
John Padfield, thank you so much for coming on. We hope you will come speak with us again. We will be seeing you in a couple weeks. Looking forward to that. But in the meantime, God bless you and Godspeed, sir.
Thank you very much. Dan, Dawna, thank you so much for having me on.
Take care. I'm always encouraged by men like this.
Very. I'm glad he brought in the football helmets, because Ed was asking, talk to me about the football helmets. And I actually was like doing a quick Google search because he's a college professor. So I was trying to make the association and couldn't find it. And that was the perfect wrap up to that conversation with him.
We have founding fathers in this very day and time. We do. You out there have to dig in. You have to get off your asses. You have to actually seek out when men like this are offering solutions. What are you doing? Are you going to just let others do the heavy lifting? Or are you too going to spread the word? Are you going to go to this brush fire event? Are you going to tell others about it? Are you going to write the Idaho legislators who aren't getting off of their asses to preserve your liberty? They're concerned about transgender sports. They're concerned about transgender surgeries and rainbow flags and all those things that are culturally important. But if your liberty is not secure against the government that is supposed to secure your liberty, but is all powerful to take your liberty away, what are you going to do then? There are many people in Kootenai County that run around the KCRCC circles. You see all your favorite legislators, Dale Hawkins and Phil Hart and Heather Scott. What are you doing to pressure them to get off their duffs and do something to secure our rights and to push back against the federal government? I hope that you guys are as concerned as I am, and you should be. If you haven't picked up on it yet, we're being surrounded. We have an avalanche coming down on top of us and very few escape routes. Think about how much things have changed in 2 years with AI. Think about the way things were in 2020 when the world was shut down and all the fraud that took place, and then an election, and you had the interests of the state through the Biden administration. If you're not jabbed, you have no place in society. You're a fool if you think just because President Trump is in power and the GOP has the House and the Senate that you're safe. Nothing to worry about. We don't have to worry about the interests of the state. That's being taken care of for us. You have to remain vigilant. Now, John mentioned some of these communities that have pushed back. Let's take a look and see what the chief of police from Fort Collins, Colorado, had to say yesterday about his community and the disengagement with flock cameras. Take a look at this.
Hello, I'm Jeff Swoboda, the police chief in Fort Collins, and I wanted to let the community know that last night at our city council meeting, the council voted to end our relationship with Flock. Flock is a license plate reading system that we have been utilizing for about the past 18 months. The council took their time over months, allowed us to respond to the concerns of the community, and they ultimately made a decision to end our relationship. We have already stopped collecting data and sharing that data, and we're in the process of canceling the contract and getting the cameras removed. I wanted to highlight that we've been in existence and policing this community for more than 100 years. We've only been using Flock for a little more than a year. We hire amazing people, we have great detectives, and we will continue solving crime as we always have, even without this tool. Public safety is a shared responsibility with all of us, and we want to do nothing that diminishes the trust that we've worked so hard to gain with all of you. So as always, Fort Collins, we want to continue to work to be the safest city in the country, and that only happens when we work together. So give us a call if you need us. We are always here for you.
I'm astonished. That was Chief of Fort Collins. He's going to be on this show next week. You're not going to want to miss this quick little interview. I think you're going to be surprised at what the chief has to say. But here's the win. The win is you have a chief that has listened to what the people and the council has told him to do, and he is doing those that are representing the people what they wish to be done, which is to eliminate the flock. And he talks about, again, the integrity of law enforcement, and he comes back and he says, look, we've been in business for over 100 years solving crimes and keeping the community safe. We've been using flock cameras for 18 months. We have good men and detectives that will continue to solve crimes. That interview with the Chief Swoboda is next week. In fact, our new chief of police in Coeur d'Alene used to work for Chief Swoboda. So that's kind of an interesting dynamic there that is coincidental to this discussion. But this is people in their community saying we have had enough. I've told you about Jen Noel many times. She really is an unsung hero. She doesn't get a lot of credit. She's been on top of this in Kootenai County, North Idaho, for years now. And she put her own time and money, and she is relentless when it comes to spreading the word about what's going on with the surveillance state with 15-minute cities. Her organization is Stop Smart Cities, North Idaho. You should look her up on Telegram and Facebook. But I know Jen needs people to help her when she's getting these words out, when she is presenting before county commissioners and city councils for things like cell towers and other surveillance-related issues. The LPRs. Jen was with me back in 2024 during the campaign, side by side. She was one of the very few that aligned with me when it came to saying no to ALPRs. She knows the evil that is associated with them.
One thing about Jen is she came here from Hawaii. I
Not
think,
California?
Lifelong resident. But that's one of the reasons, I'm going to get there in a second. That's one of the reasons that she has been so vigilant on specifically this issue, because she experienced that life of tyranny, absolute tyranny. And then that is so interesting when you contrast it with a lot of the retired Southern California PD, retired law enforcement.
You mean the North Idaho chapter
California.
of CalPER Cons? Whoops. CalPER's Cons? Weird.
Yeah. Why is that? I mean, those are questions you need to start asking yourself, is why you have people who say they have come here from California, retired LE especially, as an example of this, that have come here as a safe haven, but then they're showing up in front of the Board of County Commissioners, lined up one after the other at the podium to testify when Bob Norris is pushing.
That's why you have it wrong. Mm-hmm. These guys didn't flee there for safety. They fled there because many of them are on these CalPERS retirements, these fraudulent injury retirements from California, and they come up here with all their money and they want to live the lifestyle. They moved up, a lot of them, to north of North Kootenai County. One's like a recent discovery of a realtor who was a former California highway patrolman who was scamming CalPERS, got caught claiming that he couldn't work because he had a hernia in his right testicle while he was still performing jujitsu on a regular basis. We'll talk about that another time, but no, I'm on a tangent. These guys don't care about safety and security. They think they're elitist because they're tied in with law enforcement, but the rest of us have to deal with the bullshit that they're promoting in our own communities where they fled.
That's the contrast and comparison I'm making, because you have Jen, who has been a citizen with no connection to that with law enforcement, who came from Hawaii, and she's been absolutely vigilant on this topic because she lived the tyranny as a voting citizen. Then these elitist retired law enforcement, a lot of them retired on disability. I'd like to know are there any retired LE come from California that aren't on a disability? I know that's a tangent.
We're working right now to identify several law enforcement retirees from California that are scamming the system, what they're doing, what their alliances are. And it is truly a scam. And it's going to be a story that we will eventually.
Well, and the one that we found, I mean, it's just flat out embarrassing.
24 pages of this realtor that while he's claiming that his testicles herniated, he can't ever go back to work from moving a box of paper.
He's
up in Idaho. He's moved up to Idaho.
He's on the lake.
And he's at jujitsu multiple times a week. He's in jiu-jitsu competitions. He's wearing tack gear.
Didn't tap out.
He's cliff jumping into water. I mean, it is so ridiculous what these people, these frauds have done to law enforcement, and they have done it at the behest of government. Government allows the fraud to take place. You have guys like Mike Bauer, 30 years at LASD, retires, doesn't take a disability. I'm stopping right now because I'm going to get on this long tangent.
Dude, bring it down.
We're gonna expose this though, because
somebody might already figured it out.
All right, let's take a look
based on the look on my face.
Let's take a look at what the founders had to say.
Let's do that.
Many of you are rightfully celebrating our 250th birthday. I'm doing it a little bit mournfully because I see the state things are in. I'm glad that America's been around 250 years. I'm glad that I personally have benefited from being an American citizen, but I'm very concerned, as many of you are as well. Here's what Benjamin Franklin had to say about the topic of liberty and security. Those who would give up essential liberty to purchase a little temporary safety deserve neither liberty nor safety. And of course, he originally was talking about taxation during the French Indian War, and then he later resurrected that right during the War of Independence during the Revolution. That is where I've come off with my saying frequently, I don't trade my dangerous liberty for a certain security. Next one. This is also really good. Freedom is not a gift bestowed upon us by other men, but a right that belongs to us by the laws of God and nature. Government doesn't have a right to spy on us all the time for supposedly securing our safety. It's absolutely absurd that anybody in this country would buy off giving up, well, we're not doing anything wrong, so you can have whatever you want. Would you allow the government to go through all of your photos, even your risque ones? Because I know there are those of you out there that are taking photos that you probably would not want shown on the internet. But if you have nothing to hide, who cares if they collect them for future use? Here's what Madison, architect of the Constitution, had to say. It is a universal truth that the loss of liberty at home is to be charged to the provisions against danger, real or pretend, from abroad. You guys sinking with that? The loss of liberty right here at home. It has to be, they use it against us to say we need to be secure against things outside, right? Terrorists are here. We got to listen to your conversations. We have to be able to have FISA courts. We need to trample on our liberties all the time for your security. And look, there hasn't been any terrorist attacks. So see how well this is worked? And lastly, Federalist 48, Madison. Will it be sufficient to mark with precision the boundaries of these departments in the constitution of the government and to trust to these parchment barriers against the encroaching spirits of power? This is the security which appears to have been principally relied on by the compliers of the most American Constitution. But experience assures us that the efficacy of the provision has been greatly overrated. Can't say it much better than those wrote our Constitution. And he's right when he talks about parchment barriers. The Constitution does not get its power from the paper itself, but by the men who uphold and defend those words. I'm seeing a lot of men that are not living up to those words anymore. All right, you have a segment that we're going to end tonight with.
You know, we spent a lot of time in this program discussing some pretty serious issues, government, accountability, public policy. Sometimes they can be pretty heavy topics, and tonight not excluded, other than laughing about some injured testicles over there for a second.
Whoops.
So every once in a while, you know, it's good to have a healthy laugh. So we're going to watch this together as we're going to have a bit of a game show segment tonight that we're going to put Dan through. We'll watch this together first.
Wait.
Power goes out.
Okay.
Customers in a coffee shop are forced to use the bathrooms in the dark. An unconfirmed witness says Sheriff Bob Norris might somehow be involved. And if you have tips, message Mike Petum at North Idaho News. If you heard that and immediately thought, that can't possibly be real, congratulations. If you raced to the comments to explain why it was impossible, well, you might be in tonight's lineup. These are real comments, real people, real confidence. It's time for Moron or Genius.
Oh my. Hold on. We got so much cheering. So much cheering.
I had no idea that you made that. That was awesome.
Well, you know, it's AI. So what did I really
think we're
do?
gonna have to drink.
AI is temperamental sometimes. So yeah, I'll still take some credit for that. What are we drinking tonight? Well, while Dan's pouring that,
New Riff single barrel. It is 110 proof.
Oh,
so
holy
watch that
smokes,
octane.
Holy smokes!
Especially made for Idaho.
Last weekend, we posted what we thought was an obviously ridiculous parody on social media. It involved a power outage. Some of you remember that over the weekend. We happened to be sitting in the Starbucks in the area at that time.
Don't tell Jen we were at a Starbucks.
Don't tell Jen. And the power goes out. So we thought, you know what? We're going to have a little bit of fun with this. We're just going to have a little bit of fun. Part of the fun, we post our, hey, power's out here in this Starbucks. Customers supposedly being forced to use the bathrooms in the dark, and somehow through completely unconfirmed witness statements, a person resembling Sheriff Bob Norris may or may not have been involved. We even directed people to send their tips over to Mike Petum at North Idaho News. Now, most of you immediately got the joke. You played along. And you even added to the satire, gave us some good laughs. Honestly, some of the responses were hilarious. You one-upped us. But not everybody was in on it. Not everybody got it. So that brings us to this brand new segment that we're calling Moron or Genius.
I like it.
Okay, here's how this is going to work.
All right.
I'm going to put up a real comment on the screen, and I'm going to read it exactly as it was written. Then I'm going to ask Dan a simple question. You guys can get involved there in the comment section too. Don't quit. Don't give up. So I'm going to say, Dan, moron or genius? Now, after you weigh in, then you guys can decide if you agree or disagree. Okay.
Oh, when do I get to drink?
Do
I get to drink after every
Make it happen.
exclamation of moron or genius?
Oh, yeah. It's a drinking game for every moron.
110 proof. You better be careful. Tap that one lightly.
Okay, I'll be careful.
All right, I'm ready to go.
First, I'm going to, for those of you who missed it,
I'm limbering up.
hold on. I got some other Got to remove this and remove that and bring this back up here. And then we should be good to go. For those of you who did miss this over the weekend, this was our post. We got a picture of the lights gone out at the Starbucks where we were sitting.
How many views so far?
Oh, shoot. This one went up to 60,000 plus or something. I actually haven't looked for a few days. Right. But so the post is this: breaking. Power just went out at the Starbucks on Ramsey and Appleway in Coeur d'Alene. Customers are being denied anything made with espresso and are being forced to use the bathrooms in the dark. Unconfirmed witness statements report that someone may have hit a power pole and that a person resembling Sheriff Bob Norris may somehow be involved either directly or indirectly. Anyone with further tips on this situation can message Mike Petum at North Idaho News. That was the post. Okay.
All right.
So now for our first contestant.
All right.
We've got Micah Howard posting here on Facebook. He had to get right in on this. Micah says, bro acts like the Starbucks employees should hold a flashlight in the bathroom and create electricity from espresso from thin air. So what do you think? Moron or genius?
Well, I mean, I wish there was one middle, like
this one could almost go.
Yeah, I you know what? Can I say it's a draw?
Okay. Yeah.
Can I say it's a draw?
Yeah.
All right, it's a draw.
Well, so
I don't get to drink though.
We started with an easy one. Sharkhawk says it's a moron. Okay. Next comment.
You're nicer than me apparently tonight.
The next comment from Jess Milner. Everyone has a light on their phone. No one peed in total darkness.
That only works if you sit to pee, which I'm certain that many of our, well, at least a county commissioner and a sheriff personally do. So they probably would have been able to use a flashlight, and maybe females, but I don't know. I mean, luckily I was not the person in that position. So I'm going to say that is a moron.
Okay, good.
What do you guys say? I'll drink that.
All right. I do want to say we had somebody that pointed out that there are emergency lights in the restrooms at Starbucks. So none of this was meant to be a slam on Starbucks.
Not at all.
We were having some fun. And yeah, I'm sure nobody had to pee in total darkness there at the Starbucks. Okay, the next one. We have, we've got Susan Robertson O'Brien. Forced to use the restroom in the dark? That's an ignorant comment. Cell phones have lighted screens and most have flashlights. If you don't have a cell phone, go to some place that has power. Who was forced to use the restroom in the dark? Was it at gunpoint? You see how stupid the comment was? All right.
Well, I hope
moron.
I hope you guys don't touch other people's cell phones. I personally don't because of comments like this. We did observe. We were not in the bathroom. We were sitting up at our normal stoop, and we observed a rather bewildered middle-aged male that walked out of the dark bathroom into the dark lobby. And he was a little bit, I don't know. He was a little disheveled. I would say that she is definitely a moron.
He'll drink to that. Dan will drink to that. Okay, and the next. All right. Joe Lasher. I'm going to run over to Raising Cane's drive-thru so I can get a first-hand account from the dude that has all the details. Moron or genius?
I have to say that is genius. In fact, we have to...
Oh, yeah, we got to drink to that one. Okay.
Cheers, man.
All right. Next comment, Redith Graham. Mm-hmm. No one is forced to use any bathroom, by the way. No one is forced to go to Starbucks. No one is forced to do anything. Moron or genius?
He's a real moronic genius.
Yeah, that's another one. It's like...
In fact, that one was so bad, I won't even drink to that one.
Yeah,
that's a no-brainer.
Okay, next one. Lynn M. Hammond.
Oh, by the way, the other person is a moron just because of the name.
Yeah, because I don't know. I really don't know if that was male or female, but not that it matters. Lynn M. Hammond. OMG, really? No one's forced to use bathrooms in the dark. Hold it or go elsewhere. This is a little bit of a 2-for-1 because Bailey Breitenberg underneath goes, right?
You guys are misunderstanding. The power went out suddenly, like a thief in the night. It was literally, there was somebody in the bathroom. They were already committed. It wasn't like they could stop midstream and go, hold on, I'm going to go out and find another place.
There was no informed consent. There wasn't
all
informed
right,
consent.
moron.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. What do we got going here? What do we have? Maggie Russell, poor reporter, reporting statements worded in a victimized manner. And now we got Susan Robertson O'Brien. She's back. So she says to Maggie, poor reporter. Nope. A reporter that should be fired for poor reporting.
These are your neighbors, and many of them vote, folks. This is really the problem. I wonder if Russell is related to that other hag, Doreen Russell.
Oh, yeah, maybe he was sticking up for Doreen.
Yeah.
I want you to guys to know
wait, moron.
There's
moron.
still we might have one or two more.
All right.
We put these out every once in a while, these parody posts. It's a bit of a litmus test, but we want you to understand, anybody who hasn't seen that there on our Facebook feed yet, you need to go back. It was posted on this last Sunday. Look at that, because I want you to understand who the voting population is here in Kootenai County.
They're all Bob Norris supporters.
Okay, that's just, it's a test, because you got to see what you're dealing with there. Tracy Ardeen Olin. Did Avista underhandedly go into business selling generators? And then in parentheses, by force? Moron or genius?
This is going to have to be a draw again because, it's hard to understand what the intent of the question or the answer is.
Right. Now, if that one you're like waffling on a little bit, underneath that, William Becker says it's the data centers. They're stealing all the power. They want to store data on what drinks you have sold. What,
William? Okay, this is just for you, William.
Moron or genius?
Okay. Well, I'm going to say that based on that, my assumption is that he's a moron.
I have a differing opinion on that one.
On the drinks,
I don't agree.
It could be.
I don't agree. I think that William was playing right along. He understood the parody, and he was playing
William.
Right
if I missed your parody, then I'm as doubly bad as those that missed
Dan,
our parody.
You're gonna get like
message us, William. If we did it wrong, I will personally send you a message telling you that I'm sorry.
You could get ripped a new one. You're gonna have to give him a free Liberty Without Compromise hat or something. Corbin Miller says, I was forced to use the bathroom in the dark once. I was camping, though.
Right. You know what? Genius.
Okay. Teresa Manning Jeffrey. Okay, we're rounding this out. We're rounding out this episode of Moron or Genius with Teresa Manning Jeffrey. Forced to go to the bathroom in the dark. They have no power. What an idiot.
I'm thinking that maybe Teresa was a former resident of the Good Samaritan Ranch program. I'm just guessing. She's giving vibes. She probably has a little substance abuse issues. Gives me the vibes. I may be wrong. Cheers.
Anyway,
Moron.
thanks for joining us. Thanks for joining us, guys, on this episode.
I love this comment right here from Char Cox. Come on, we're talking about the same people that thought you owed an apology and tuned in to watch it. Yeah, and I saw some of those people actually online tonight.
Oh.
This has been a fun time tonight. I really enjoyed talking with John Padfield. We always enjoy the interactions with all of you out there. we're going to leave you guys tonight. We're not going to do a lot of talking. We're going to leave you with Jocko Willink is going to give the Patrick Henry speech. So since it's our 250th anniversary, we think it's appropriate that we leave you with that. But I do want to mention a few things before we sign off, and that is, and Dawna, you can give your standard outro after I say what I want to, and then we'll play the video. Continue to pray for my buddy Jim Harbin, and just pray that he would find relief and that he would feel much better. Pray for complete healing. Pray for my buddy Dave in Texas, who's been in the hospital for a few days. Dave, if you're watching, we're thinking of praying for you. I also want you to pray for all those that are currently suffering from traumatic brain injuries that cause them to be socially awkward and to do stupid things. If you happen to be the partner of somebody that has a traumatic brain injury, we truly support you. We understand what it's like living with a moron, and we are praying for the recovery of those people with traumatic brain injuries. That being said, Dawna, do you have anything you want to take us out with prior to Jocko?
Well, I mean, I did have some parting words. It's difficult to follow that up, but we want to thank, like Dan said, Dr. John Padfield for joining us tonight and sharing your expertise. We appreciate that he took the time to help our audience better understand these important issues. I saw a lot of you chiming in, somebody who said that this guy is definitely like top notch. He knows his stuff. This is the expert on the issue. So being able to get over to his event in Spokane, what date is that again?
1.
August 1. It'd be great if Dan and I can show up to that and meet a lot of you there to support him. We also want to thank you for being a part of tonight's conversation. We know these discussions aren't always easy, but they're necessary, just like the last statement Dan made. Yeah. And, you know, an informed citizenry has always been one of the strongest safeguards of a free society. As we celebrate Independence Day this week, we encourage everybody to spend a little bit of time reflecting on the extraordinary courage and vision of those who founded this nation, not just looking at this 250th as a chance to like party on the boat or whoever you're going to meet with in the backyard, another reason for a distraction. But the freedoms that we enjoy today, they were not handed to us. Maybe we've heard that one too many times. They were secured by people willing to sacrifice for principles that they believed were worth defending. If you found tonight's program valuable, please help by sharing it with others, subscribing to our channels on YouTube. That is at The Idaho Sheriff. They're on Facebook. You want to follow The Idaho Sheriff page, and then also Liberty Without Compromise. And invite your friends next Wednesday. We're here every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. So until then, we're going to leave you tonight with this video.
Yeah. I love Patrick Henry. He is in my top when it comes to favorite founding fathers. Fascinating life. If you have never read a biography on him, I highly encourage you to do so. This is one of my all-time favorite speeches. And to me, it embodies what we as Americans that truly love our country feel about tyranny and the way we feel about our God-given rights. And we understand who the maker of all is, who rules the universe, who sets the rules in place. And of course, I love Jocko. We are huge fans at my company, Rockin' DW. All of our employees go through extreme ownership. That's a model that we live by. What better man to give this speech than Jocko? We're going to leave it with that. Then we'll come out with our bumper music. We'll let you make your comments until the end. Good night. God bless. Remember, you didn't descend from fearful men. You descended from men who understood those times. They all acted decisively and accordingly, and they pledged their lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honor. Go in peace.
Let us not, I beseech you, deceive ourselves. We have done everything that could be done to avert the storm which is now coming on. We have petitioned We have remonstrated. We have supplicated. We have prostrated ourselves before the throne and have implored its interposition to arrest the tyrannical hands of the ministry and parliament. But our petitions have been slighted. Our remonstrances have produced additional violence and insult. Our supplications have been disregarded, and we have been spurned with contempt from the foot of the throne. In vain. After these things, may we indulge in fond hope of peace and reconciliation? There is no longer any room for hope. If we wish to be free, we must fight. I repeat it, sir, we must fight. An appeal to arms and to the God of hosts is all that is left us. They tell us that we are weak, unable to cope with so formidable an adversary. But when shall we be stronger? Will it be the next week or the next year? Will it be when we are totally disarmed and when a British guard shall be stationed in every house? Shall we gather strength by irresolution and inaction? Shall we acquire the means of effectual resistance by lying supinely on our backs and hugging the delusive phantom of hope until our enemies shall have us bound hand and foot? Sir, we are not weak if we make a proper use of those means which the God of nature hath placed in our power. The millions of people armed in the holy cause of liberty, and in such a country as that which we possess, are invincible by any force which our enemy can send against us. Besides, sir, we shall not fight our battles alone. There is a just God who presides over the destinies of nations and who will raise up friends to fight our battles with us. The battle, sir, is not to the strong alone. It is to the vigilant, the active, the brave. There is no retreat but in submission and slavery. Our chains are forged. The war is inevitable, and let it come. I repeat it, sir, let it come. It is in vain, sir, to extenuate the matter. Gentlemen may cry, peace, peace, but there is no peace. The war has actually begun. The next gale that sweeps from the north will bring to our ears the clash of resounding arms. Our brethren are already in the field. Why stand we here idle? What is it that we gentlemen wish? What would they have? Is life so dear or peace so sweet as to be purchased at the price of chains and slavery? Forbid it, Almighty God. I know not what course others may take, but as for me, give me liberty or give me death.
Give me liberty or give me death. And I truly believe that. How about you? Good night, y'all.
One more quick thing. We do have over on our website a link to our, let's see here, specialty shop, because I wanted to show you. Actually, you can get the Liberty Without Compromise hats. I'll find the QR code up in here somewhere. Link right there to purchase. I ordered one of these myself, actually, through our website, and just got the white version, a little bit overexposed there in the lights, but of the Liberty Without Compromise hat. Some people are going to be jealous of this. I love it. I love it. So you can get white or black, and then also for a limited time. What else do we have over there in the specialty shop for a limited time?
You're fat and undisciplined.
For a limited time.
Surplus for prison.
The surplus for prison t-shirt.
And we're going to be adding more every week.
And the You're Fat and Undisciplined t-shirt. So that's that, you guys. Have a happy 4th before we see you next week, Wednesday, 7 p.m. Pacific time. And stay involved on our social media because a lot of things happen between Wednesday and Wednesday. That's the Idaho Sheriff and Liberty Without Compromise there on Facebook. And then a really important one is our YouTube channel at the Idaho Sheriff. See you next week.